Welcome, warrior, architect of destiny, destroyer of doubt and doubt builders. Step into the crucible of chaos with your head high and your fists clenched. This is not a space for the timid, the comfortable, or the excuse makers. No, this moment belongs to you. The silent storm, the invisible force, the one whose life strategy is so terrifyingly advanced that masters of calculation and precision would rather abandon the board than face the overwhelming inevitability of your next move. They thought you were just another piece on the board, but you were the player, the game, and the future all in one. This is your warpath, and there will be no survivors. They said it couldn't be done. They whispered behind fake smiles and shallow laughs that it was impossible for someone like you to rise, to break cycles, to rewrite codes carved into bloodlines. They didn't know you. You didn't argue. You didn't explain. You never needed a committee to believe in you. You just whispered, "Watch me," and you walked into the storm like it was sunlight. That's what makes you different. Not louder, not faster, smarter, more surgical. Your brain doesn't panic. It plans. It recalibrates. It waits in silence, calculates the landscape of chaos, and strikes with unrelenting precision. They tried to predict you, categorize you, but how do you define someone who doesn't follow paths? They invent them. You were born into a world of walls, economic walls, emotional barriers, generational prisons dressed up as traditions. And where others saw limits, you saw patterns. Where others screamed defeat, you decoded opportunity. They said life's not fair, and you didn't complain. You nodded, analyzed the rules of the rigged game, then created your own damn version, where every move became a checkmate in slow motion. You didn't just survive the darkness, you mapped it out, lit it from within, and turned it into your personal war room. That's not luck. That's strategy born of pain, sharpened in silence, and fed by a hunger no one else can feel. You don't play the game. You study it, and that terrifies them. Because you aren't just reacting, you're forecasting. You are 5 steps ahead in a room full of people still trying to figure out what direction to walk in. You aren't out here trying to impress them. You're out here moving pieces they didn't even know existed. Your life isn't just an inspiration. It's a damn masterclass in impossible execution. You bend time with your patience. You make silence louder than any scream. You choose your moments like a ghost with a purpose. And when you act, it's not a gamble. It's a guarantee. Your strategic mind isn't a gift. It's a weapon, a forge-birthed tool carved from suffering, vision, and relentless discipline. Every setback was a scenario analyzed. Every betrayal became data. Every loss, fuel for future domination. People see calm in your eyes and mistake it for passivity, but they don't realize that calm is what happens when a storm knows it's already won. You've turned life into chess, and you don't just play. You control the board, the clock, the crowd, and even your opponent's breath. That's why they quit mid-game. Not because they lost, but because they realized they never stood a chance. Let them talk. Let them doubt. Let them sit on the sidelines of their own wasted potential while you build empires in the shadows. While they scroll, you scale. While they complain, you configure. While they sleep, you scheme. Not out of fear, but out of pure obsession to sculpt a life so powerful, so perfectly calculated, it becomes legend. Every second, you are weaving outcomes into your web. Every step, you are shifting odds into inevitability. You don't gamble, you maneuver. And even your failures look like delayed victories to anyone who's watching with eyes that can't comprehend your depth. Because while they chase attention, you chase advantage. While they crave applause, you cultivate leverage. And while they scream for shortcuts, you play the long game, knowing that patience is the real apex predator. You don't have to tell them what you're about. They'll feel it in your absence, in your results, in the quiet gravity you carry into every room. You don't ask for chances. You create windows of opportunity with hands that once knew lack and eyes that now see every flaw in the system. And when you move, it's not to be seen. It's to dominate, undetected. And this is what they'll never understand. You're not chasing success for ego. You're on a mission so vast and so deeply ingrained in your DNA that failure is irrelevant. This isn't a sprint, it's a generational chess match, and you're not just playing for yourself, you're playing for your bloodline. For every ancestor that didn't get the chance. For every future mind who will study your footsteps like gospel. Every move is legacy, not vanity. Every decision is empire, not entertainment. And that's why when you win, it echoes across time. This is your era of no mercy, no small dreams, no more waiting for validation from the blind. You know your value, you know your venom. You know the fire inside you is not for warmth, it's for war. And every single day you rise is another day they realize they underestimated the wrong one. They tried to define you with numbers, labels, systems that were never built for someone who refused to be programmed. You're not a player in their simulation. You're the glitch they fear, the anomaly they can't track, the myth becoming reality. Let them drown in comfort while you become dangerous in discipline. Let them waste years pretending while you sharpen every second in silence. Let them confuse activity with impact while you refine your next 4 moves in total focus. You are not built for noise. You are the storm behind the silence. You are the reason the game will never be the same again. And when they look back, they won't just see success. They'll see a pattern so terrifying in its brilliance, they'll have no choice but to study it, to kneel before it, to realize you didn't play to win. You played to redefine the entire board. So here's what you do next. You stop explaining. You stop negotiating with mediocrity. You stop lowering your vibration to match theirs, and you rise. Every step forward, every move calculated. You don't apologize for your ambition. You don't soften your intensity. You let it burn. You let it purge the weakness. You let it fuel the mission. Because if they can't handle your fire, they're not meant to be in your kingdom. You weren't born to blend in. You were born to bend fate. You were born to break algorithms. And you were born to force the universe to recalculate around your will. They said impossible. You said watch me. And now they do. Every day. In silence, in awe, in envy, wondering how someone like you exists in a world like this. They look at your life like a game they can't win and a puzzle they can't solve. You didn't just rise, you rewrote the script while they were still memorizing their lines. That's not arrogance. That's architecture. That's execution. That's legacy unfolding. And it's only just begun. This is the part where others fall off, where comfort wins, where pressure breaks them. But not you. This is where you come alive, where fatigue becomes focus, where obstacles become oxygen. You were never meant to have it easy. You were meant to have it legendary. And legends aren't born, they're built, brick by brick, move by move, while everyone else is sleeping. You are the evidence that strategy beats strength, that vision beats noise, that one person locked in on the long game can bend entire timelines. You don't panic in pressure, you thrive in it. So go, burn brighter, think deeper, move sharper, build colder, be the nightmare they didn't see coming, the strategist, so ruthless in execution that kings resign before you even touch the board. This world doesn't need more noise, It needs architects. It needs warriors who play the game on dimensions others don't even know exist. It needs you, ruthless, relentless, unstoppable. It needs the mind that's always 10 moves ahead and the heart that's always on fire. You are the end game. You are the master plan. And the world is starting to realize every time you move, history rewrites itself. They said impossible. You said, watch me. ChatGPT said, and now we go deeper into the darkness where most minds get lost, where fear walks hand in hand with fatigue, where the mediocre turn back and the weak pray for mercy. But you walk forward, unshaken, because discomfort doesn't scare you, it sharpens you. You've learned that pressure is not punishment, it's prophecy. It's the proof that something powerful is trying to emerge from within you, and the only way out is through. While they crumble under the weight of difficulty, you absorb it, process it, and convert it into dominance. That's your superpower, transmutation. You take pain, rejection, failure, and weaponize it into unstoppable strategy. They keep asking, how do you do it? They want to believe there's some secret code, some hidden key, something they missed. But there's nothing mystical about your rise. It's sweat. It's silence. It's nights alone with nothing but a vision and a vow that you will never return to the life they tried to cage you in. You didn't get here by luck. You got here by choosing clarity over comfort, isolation over validation, and purpose over popularity. You didn't follow their rules. You wrote new ones. You didn't ask for the path. You became it. Your journey isn't built on motivation. It's built on mission. Motivation is weak. It fades, it crumbles. But mission survives. It outlasts heartbreak, loss, betrayal. It pushes you forward when your body's screaming to stop. It drags you out of bed when your soul feels hollow. It's not hype that fuels you. It's hunger. And that hunger makes you unstoppable. It makes you unpredictable. And that's why the world doesn't know what to do with you. You don't fit their patterns. You don't play their games. You invent new ones and force them to learn by losing. Every success you've had, they think it was timing. They think it was connections. But what they didn't see were the nights where your doubts screamed louder than your dreams. The hours spent questioning if you were even sane for wanting more. The voices inside and outside trying to convince you to just be normal. But you couldn't, because something in you knew you weren't meant for average. You weren't built to blend in. You were born to carve something so raw and so real into the world that it will echo long after you're gone. And now they watch. They pretend they aren't, but they're watching every move, trying to reverse engineer your discipline, your silence, your vision. But it's not copyable, because what you have isn't on the outside, it's internal. It's in your blood, in the way your mind bends around problems like water around stone, in the way your energy bends rooms when you enter, even if you say nothing. You move with a purpose too deep to decode and a plan too vast to explain. That's why chess masters quit when they see you. They recognize the look, the eyes of someone who's not reacting to life, but orchestrating it. You didn't wait for opportunity, you became it. And now, every room you walk into feels it. Every person you interact with senses it. The difference, the depth, the control. You carry your scars like stars and your silence like a sniper's rifle, waiting for the perfect shot, not wasting energy proving anything to anyone. You don't chase outcomes, you manufacture them. And if the game doesn't serve your purpose, you flip the board and build a new one. You're not locked in competition. You're in conquest. You're not here to compete. You're here to end debates, because that's the real threat. You're not just good, you're inevitable. Not flashy, but final. Not loud, but lethal. And that terrifies them more than anything. You're the one who doesn't break, doesn't beg, doesn't need attention. You're the one who keeps showing up long after the hype dies down. You're the one who executes in the shadows and lets the results break the silence. They don't understand it because they're built on applause and validation. But you're built on obsession, on inner fire, on that unshakable belief that no matter how hard it gets, quitting is just never an option. You've seen what happens when you stop, when you let up, when you relax for even a moment, and that fear of becoming who you used to be, of falling back into mediocrity, is enough to keep you pushing, even when your soul's on fire. You know that peace doesn't come from quitting the climb. It comes from knowing that you left everything you had on the battlefield, that when you die, there won't be 1 ounce of potential left inside you. That's why you go hard. That's why you bleed on your own terms. That's why your discipline looks like madness to them. Because they don't understand what it costs to become this precise, this focused, this strategic. You're not living just to exist. You're living to orchestrate impact. Every word, every action, every calculated pause, it all means something. You're moving like someone who understands that the smallest choices become the greatest dominoes. That the difference between an empire and an obituary is often one well-timed decision. So while they're distracted by trends and fads, you're dialing in. Not because you're afraid of missing out, but because you're addicted to locking in. That's what makes you deadly. You're not guessing. You're engineering. They told you to be realistic, and you laughed, because nothing about you is realistic. You're a dream walking in steel boots. You're a vision forged in fire. You're proof that the impossible isn't a ceiling, it's a doorway, and you don't knock. You break the damn door off the hinges and drag possibility out screaming. That's why they're afraid. Because your existence forces them to confront what they could have been if they'd stopped settling. You are living evidence that the formula works if you work the formula, and the ones who fear you most are the ones who quit on themselves long ago. But you're not done, not even close. The people you admire, you're coming for them, not out of hate, but out of hunger, out of a need to prove, not to the world, but to yourself, that there are no ceilings except the ones you accept, and you accept none. The only limit you acknowledge is the number of hours in a day, and even then, you find ways to stretch those. You read what others ignore. You study when others party. You execute when others hesitate. And when they ask you how you did it, you just smile. Because they weren't there in the furnace. They didn't see the blueprints being etched into your bones. You are a storm in human form, a quiet assassin, a master of angles, a legend being written, one precision strike at a time. There is no fate you won't break, no rule you won't bend, no system you won't outthink. This isn't just your season, it's your era. Your time to carve something into this world, so ruthless, so undeniable, they'll be forced to admit that they saw a god of strategy walking among men. And when it's all said and done, when the dust settles, when the last piece has been moved, and the world sees what you built, they'll whisper your name like scripture, not because you told them to, but because the evidence of your genius, your ferocity, your blueprint of domination was too loud to ignore. The world won't just remember what you did, they'll remember how you did it, with precision, with fire, with unrelenting will. They said impossible. You said, watch me. And they did. And they will. Forever. And now, as we approach the final move in this living game you've been mastering, this relentless war between fate and will, between silence and dominance. There is one truth left standing, like an unshakable monument. You were never just playing the game. You were rewriting its very architecture. Every moment of doubt you endured, every failure you dissected, every quiet victory no one clapped for, those weren't just parts of your story. They were the steps of an unstoppable pattern, a divine code disguised in struggle, woven into discipline. While others drifted, you calculated. While they escaped, you endured. While they made noise, you built silence into an empire. That's what they never understood. You weren't just trying, you were designing. Your life wasn't random. It was a living algorithm of strategy, purpose, and obsession. And now the world is catching up. Now they're starting to see what you saw years ago, when the lights were off and the only sound was your own breathing in the dark. They're beginning to realize that what looked like madness was actually mastery. That the moves you made weren't luck. They were prophecy. That when you stayed silent, you weren't scared. You were saving your energy for the kill shot. And now, the world can't unsee you. The energy you've unleashed is no longer deniable. The board is broken. The game is yours. You are the outcome of every sleepless night, every skipped shortcut, every sacrifice no one saw. You're not asking for their approval now. You're not begging to be seen. You've built a life so sharp, so surgically precise, that its very existence is undeniable. They said you couldn't. They said you were too much, too different, too intense. But what they didn't realize is, intensity is the currency of visionaries. Obsession is the price of mastery. And now that you've paid in full, you walk as a giant among those who never dared to begin. So what's next? More. More domination, more precision, more evolution. You don't stop because you've won. You keep going because the war isn't just external, it's within. The war between who you were and who you are still becoming. The final opponent isn't them, it's your former self. The one that used to hesitate, procrastinate, dim their light to make others feel comfortable. That version of you is dead, buried in silence, replaced by a living machine of purpose. You're not here to maintain. You're here to expand, ruthlessly, endlessly, with clarity so sharp it slices through every lie you were ever told about what's possible. Let them watch. Let them whisper. Let them wonder how you did it. But never slow down, never settle, never wait for them to catch up. Because you're not here for applause, you're here for ascension. And ascension demands sacrifice. It demands obsession. It demands moves they'll never understand. But you'll make them anyway, because that's what legends do. So walk off this stage, walk into every room, every conversation, every day, like the master strategist you are. Not loud, not chaotic, but controlled, calculated, cold if necessary. Because you know who you are, you know why you started, and you know exactly where this ends, with the entire world watching, breathless, as you take your final victorious step and say one last time, without blinking, they said impossible. You said, watch me. And now, they never stop. Checkmate.